Are you getting all of the food stamps that you're eligible for? If you've ever tried to make it through the month on SNAP benefits alone, then you know that the amount that you receive often is not nearly enough to cover groceries for a full month. But there is good news. There are actually several ways to increase your monthly SNAP benefits, all while following the rules. In this video, I'll share some surprising secrets on how to get more food stamps each month. These are strategies that many people don't know about, and they could make a real difference in your food budget. But before we dive in, I want to make something very clear. I will never encourage anyone to commit fraud or do anything illegal to increase their SNAP benefits. Everything I'm sharing here is completely legal and in line with SNAP regulations. Misrepresenting your information can have serious consequences, so please follow these tips carefully and responsibly. Low-income relief is not responsible for your outcomes. Now, the Food Stamps Office uses a math equation to determine exactly how much money you'll be getting in food stamps. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how that equation works so that you can understand how to leverage it to get more benefits. So first, you need to add up your gross income. This is your total income before taxes and deductions are taken out. This includes your earned income, like the money you make from work, including self-employment, as well as unearned income like cash assistance, Social Security, disability compensation, child support payments, and so on. Then you need to subtract the standard deduction. Every SNAP household receives the standard deduction. In 2025, the standard deduction is $204 for households with 1 to 3 people in them. If you have more people in your household, that deduction may be larger, and it may also be larger for those living in Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, or the Virgin Islands. Now, after you take that out, you also subtract the earnings deduction. This is equal to 20% of your earned income. For example, if you earn $1,257 a month, the earnings deduction would be $251 a month. Now you can subtract the other deductions you may be eligible for. This includes the amount that you spend on dependent care, if any, as well as the amount that you pay in child support if you have to make child support payments. If you are a senior or a disabled person, you can also subtract your out-of-pocket medical costs that exceed $35. This is a very big deal, and we're going to talk about it in greater detail a little later. Now, once those are removed, you can subtract the shelter deduction, and this one is a little complicated. It's only for people who pay for their housing. If you do not pay for your housing, you may be eligible for the homeless deduction, which is worth up to $190.30 in 2025. But if you do pay for housing, here's how to calculate your shelter deduction. You want to take half of your adjusted income, that's the amount left over after the previous step, and then compare it to your shelter costs. That would be your rent or mortgage payment, property taxes, utilities, and so on. If your shelter costs are higher than half of your adjusted income, you can subtract the extra amount from your adjusted income. Just remember that you cannot deduct more than $712 through this deduction because that's the current maximum limit for the shelter deduction. Now, this is going to leave you with your net income. You'll need this number for the next step because now we need to calculate your expected contribution. The SNAP office expects you to contribute 30% of your income towards your food costs. So you'll need to calculate what 30% of your net income is from the previous step to see what they're expecting you to contribute. And finally, you subtract your contribution from the maximum allotment to determine what your SNAP benefits will be. You need to make sure you're looking at the maximum allotment for your household size, and then you subtract your contribution, and the amount that remains should be how much your SNAP benefits are. If your expected contribution is 0, then you should receive the max benefits. Now, I know that that's a lot of math, and it's not a lot of fun, so let's illustrate this with an example. Let's talk about Sara, a single mother with 2 young kids. She's working part-time and making the federal minimum wage, but like many people, she's finding it really hard to make her SNAP benefits stretch through the entire month. So today, let's talk about what Sara could do to make sure that her SNAP benefits are calculated correctly and how by understanding each step, she can make sure that she's getting the most benefits that she qualifies for. So let's go ahead and break this down, starting with her gross income. Sara earns $7.25 an hour. That's the federal minimum wage, and she's working 30 hours a week. That brings her earned income to about $870 a month. In addition to her wages, she also receives $300 a month in child support. When we add those together, we find that her total gross income is $1,170. Next, we apply that standard deduction. Every SNAP household gets it, and that's going to reduce the amount of income that is counted toward their benefits. For a household of 3 like Sarah's, that standard deduction is $204. So we subtract that $204 from her gross income of $1,170, which brings her new adjusted income down to $966. Now, because Sarah is earning income from her job, she qualifies for that earned income deduction. That deduction is equal to 20% of her earned income. Since her earnings are $870, we calculate 20% of that, which comes out to $174, and we subtract that from the AGI. Now, her new AGI is $792, but let's keep going. The next deduction applies if Sarah has certain additional expenses, such as childcare. Let's say Sarah pays her mother $200 a month to watch her kids while she works. So she's going to qualify for that dependent care deduction, and we're going to subtract another $200 from her adjusted earnings, which brings her down to $592. She does not pay child support, and she does not qualify for the medical expense deduction. So now let's look at the shelter deduction. Like I explained before, this one is kind of complicated. It's based on your housing costs. And let's say that Sarah pays $400 in rent each month. I know that's probably ridiculously low. But for the purpose of this exercise, let's say she pays $400 in rent and $100 in utilities, making her total shelter costs around $500. The shelter deduction isn't a simple dollar for dollar one though. First, we have to take half of her adjusted income, which would be about $296, and then compare that to her shelter costs of $500. Since the shelter costs are higher, we can then subtract the half of her AGI from that housing cost to figure out what they would consider the excess shelter costs. That's going to math out to about $204. Now, since this amount is well below the current cap of $712, Sarah can deduct that full $204, and that's going to leave her with an adjusted income of $388. At this point, Sarah has completed all of the possible deductions, and her net income for the SNAP calculation will be $388. So now we need to calculate her contribution. They're going to expect her to spend about 30% of that on food, which is going to come out to about $116.40. So then we subtract that $116.40 from the maximum benefit from her household size, which for 2025 would be $768, and that means she's going to get an approximate monthly SNAP benefit of $652. Now, I know that was a lot of math, but now that we understand it, let's talk about 7 ways that you can leverage this calculation to get more food stamps for your household. First, you need to take a look at your household size. This is easily one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make with their SNAP benefits. If you're not clear on who should and should not be included in your household, this can have a big and sometimes devastating impact on the amount of benefits that you receive. So here's the deal. Larger households technically qualify for a higher maximum benefit, but you have to include everyone's income, and more often than not, that's going to work against you. So if you're on a low income and you accidentally include extra people in your household, you could be getting way less than you deserve. In a lot of cases, people think they're ineligible because they make mistakes with their household calculations. Let me give you a personal example on this. When my husband and I were younger, we lived with friends and family at different times. Now, if we had to include everyone we lived with in our SNAP household, we would never have qualified for SNAP. But since we did our own grocery shopping and we prepared our meals separately, we didn't have to count those other people as part of our SNAP household. That made a big difference. It made us eligible for help, and it made sure that we got a higher amount of benefits since we weren't sharing food with these people that we lived with. So here's what you need to remember. The SNAP office considers your household to be the people who live with you and buy and prepare meals with you. It has to be both. If someone just lives with you, but they're not sharing food with you, they usually are not going to be part of your SNAP household. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Your spouse is always going to count, whether or not they are sharing meals with you. Your children, usually under the age of, I think it's 21 or 22, are also going to be included in your household, even if they have a job and they're preparing their meals separately. That's just the way the rules are written. But if you live with roommates or friends or older adult children or elderly parents, you really need to analyze whether or not you're actually meeting all those requirements for a SNAP household. So let's say you live with roommates, but you keep your food separate, prepare your own meals on your own. They shouldn't be part of your SNAP household. If you live with elderly parents who have specific dietary needs and you can't share meals with them or prepare meals together, they're probably considered a separate household too. So if you've been including people in your household who don't actually buy and prepare food with you, consider updating this information with the SNAP office, because correcting your household size can make a huge difference in your monthly benefit amount. Along with that, you need to make sure that you're quickly reporting any changes in your income. If your income drops, report it right away. Even a small decrease in your income can affect your entire SNAP calculation, which can potentially increase your monthly benefit amount. So if you lose a job, have reduced hours, or face another income drop, notifying your SNAP office right away can make a big difference. Waiting to report the change means you could miss out on extra benefits that could be helping you during a challenging time. I personally know a family who had their income reduced by more than half, and yet they refused to inform the food stamps office. This family suffered for months until their recertification, when they were, shockingly, awarded significantly more food stamps. Please don't let that happen to you. Don't miss out. And along with that, make sure that you're also reporting increases in your expenses too. We all know that the price of everything is increasing. So if your rent goes up, if you have increased medical bills or increased childcare costs, or your utilities go up, you need to let the SNAP office know this, because it can change that SNAP calculation and help you get more food benefits to help offset those losses. So here's some common ones. If you're paying more for childcare, after-school programs, or care for a dependent, this might qualify you for a larger dependent care deduction. If your rent, mortgage, property taxes, or utilities increase, your shelter deduction could be higher. Higher housing costs can affect your countable income and make you eligible for more benefits. For households with seniors or people with disabilities, increased medical costs, including prescriptions, doctor visits, health insurance premiums, Medicare premiums, all of these things, if you submit them and claim them, may lead to a higher medical deduction, which can reduce the income that SNAP counts when calculating your benefits. I cannot overstate the importance of tracking and reporting those medical expenses. If you're over the age of 60 or you're disabled, this can have a huge impact on the amount of benefits that you receive. I have seen reports historically that only 5% of eligible people were taking advantage of this deduction, and it boggles my mind because it can make such a big difference. Every year we get that bump with the EBT COLA increase, the Social Security COLA increase, and I hear from thousands of seniors who tell me that it doesn't matter because their Medicare premiums are going to go up, their rent is going to go up, their bills are going to go up, and it's not going to help. But here's the thing. If you're tracking those expenses and you submit them to the food stamps office, it should at least help you get more food, hopefully, to be able to help offset those losses. I know it's not perfect and it's a headache you shouldn't have to deal with, but I don't want you to suffer unnecessarily because you didn't know that that could make a difference. And honestly, guys, that is the whole function of this video. So let's just be really clear on what types of expenses can qualify for this deduction, okay? This is just a few. This is not a comprehensive list. So first, if you're paying for Medicare or other health insurance premiums, be sure to report those expenses. Out-of-pocket premiums for Medicare or any supplemental health insurance should all be deductible. Now, you can also track your prescription medication costs. Even if you're using discount programs, any amount that you're paying out of pocket for prescriptions counts toward those medical deductions. You should also keep a record of copays and costs for medical visits. This includes your routine checkups, your dental visits, and any other appointments, including your specialty appointments. These small expenses can add up over time, so it's worth documenting them. Other deductible costs include medical equipment and supplies. If you need items like wheelchairs, hearing aids, oxygen tanks, CPAP supplies, or anything like that, both the purchase and the maintenance costs are included in this deduction. If you have an in-home care provider for someone in your household, those costs should also be included as well. Some states even allow deductions for caregiving services provided by a family member. For those with service animals, you may be able to include the cost of their veterinary care or their pet food because those animals are also assisting you with medical needs. Remember, this deduction is supposed to track your out-of-pocket medical costs. So things like vitamins, over-the-counter medications, all of those things count too. And if you're driving or using other medical transportation to get to medical appointments, that transportation cost counts too. You can include your mileage if you drive yourself, or your bus or your taxi fares if you're relying on public transit. Don't forget to count those costs. All of these expenses add up, and together they can significantly lower your countable income. So keep those receipts, keep that documentation, and follow up on it so that you can make sure that you're getting the benefits that you're entitled to. Now, if you have children or dependents in your home, there are special deductions available to you as well. The dependent care deduction allows you to deduct the cost of dependent care so that you can work, go to school, participate in training, and so forth. This is going to cover your child care expenses like daycare, preschool, after-school programs, and sometimes even summer camps. It's also going to cover things like elder care. So if you're supporting an aging parent or a relative who needs supervision while you work, the cost of their care may be deductible too, but you're probably going to have to count them in their household, so you're going to need to weigh that out. And don't forget about care for disabled household members as well. If you're paying for in-home care or specialized facilities for a family member with disabilities, those expenses may also qualify. You've got to remember, the point of all these deductions is just to make sure that the SNAP office knows that you have less money available for food because you have other stuff that you're obligated to pay for. Now, here's another tip that many people don't know about. If anyone in your household is legally required to pay child support, you can receive a deduction for that full child support amount. Incredibly, the last time I saw a statistic on this, it said that only 2% of SNAP households were claiming that deduction. So if you're paying any sort of child support and you haven't let the SNAP office know, you might be missing out on additional benefits every month. And this last one is one that a lot of people miss. I know times are tough out there, and a lot of people are picking up extra work just to keep up with the rising cost of living. So if you're out there hustling with a side job, maybe you're driving for Uber, you're freelancing, running a small business out of your home, whatever. First of all, congratulations on your entrepreneurial spirit, but also don't forget how this is going to impact your SNAP. You may already be reporting your income, but you can report your business expenses as well. So if you're self-employed, SNAP is only supposed to look at your net income, which is what you're making after the cost of running your business, not your gross income before your business expenses, because the money that you're spending on your business is not available for you to buy food with. So you want to make sure that you are tracking and reporting those expenses accurately so that your net income is reported correctly so that you can get more of the SNAP benefits that you're entitled to. So let's just run through a quick example. Let's say you're driving for Uber and you're bringing in about $1,000 a month. Now that sounds like your income, right? But if you're spending $300 on gas or car maintenance or insurance, those are major expenses. And if you're only reporting that $1,000, SNAP is going to think you have a lot more money available for food than you actually do. But if you let them know that that $300 is going on your business expenses so that you can make that money, then SNAP is going to see that your net income is actually $700, and that lower net income could mean a higher SNAP payment for you. So let's go over a few typical expenses that you should be able to deduct if you're self-employed. We're talking about the cost of goods that you sell, your transportation costs, shipping costs, insurance, advertising and marketing, office supplies, professional fees, stuff like that. So if you're out there working hard on your side gig or your business, make sure that you're tracking and reporting your expenses as well as your income. Now, we've covered a lot of ground about how to maximize your SNAP benefits through deductions, but there are also some fantastic programs out there that can help stretch your SNAP dollars even further. Let's talk about a few of those options, including the Double Up programs, I Bought a SNAP Rewards, and other helpful ways to boost your benefits. So if you've been around this channel for a while, you know that I love the Double Up Food Bucks program and all of the different programs like it that operate across the country. This program can double the value of your SNAP food benefits when you're buying fresh fruit and vegetables. You have to shop at certain places and buy certain items, but as long as you do that, you get a dollar matching bonus that gives you more money for food. There are programs like this all over the place. Sometimes they're called Double Up, sometimes it's Market Match, Fresh Bucks, Dubucks. There's tons of them, and we have a list of all of them on our website at lowincomerelief.com/doubleup. In addition to these Double Up programs, some states are rolling out what they call healthy incentives programs as well. These are going to give you extra money for buying nutritious foods. It's kind of the same concept as Double Up, except the healthy incentives programs are typically coordinated by the states. And again, they're focused on getting you to buy healthier options at certain retailers. There are a lot of these programs popping up, and I am tracking them as quickly as I am able in that same Double Up list on our website, just to keep all that information in one place for you. Now, another great tool for stretching your benefits is I Bought a SNAP Rewards. I Bought is a popular cashback app, and they've recently rolled out a new SNAP Rewards program to offer special 100% cashback rewards on more food purchases. And obviously 100% cashback means you pay for it on your EBT card, and then I Bought is going to give you money back, which you can use for other essentials like toilet paper or diapers. A lot of people have given us great feedback on this over the years because we've been an Ibotta affiliate for a very long time. You can sign up at lirlinks.com/Ibotta and get started with that. Now, of course, we also have a ton of videos dedicated to helping you make the most of your SNAP benefits. That's the majority of what we do here on this channel. So go check those out and I will see you there.